My name is Anne Ngan, and I am a painter, and I live on Hornby Island in British Columbia, Canada. I grew up in France, in Marseille, and I was born in the High Alps, Mont Blanc. I left Paris when I was 26, and I moved to Hornby Island in 1968. It was a farmland here, and we had to build our house. The house started with being 2 chicken coops, which hadn't been used for a long time, and we dragged them on the road and brought them here, and it was really a funky cabin. But I loved it. And then the family became bigger, and we wanted a bit more sophistication, so we decided to build a real house. But I couldn't part with that house. So we kept the house, and we built around it. So why it's so unusual, it's because it's a bit of a collage. When I was a baby, I was the oldest one of 4 kids, which was during the war. It was very rough also, and I think I was a little bit duplicating what had happened in my early childhood. There is some kind of romanticism there, but I wasn't quite aware of it. And Wayne grew up in a village in China, so I think it was a bit the same for him. We got along well that way. I got into painting very early in my life because it was encouraged in my family. I came from an artistic family, so since I was able to hold a pencil, I did it. But I was always painting while doing other things. I was about 33 when I became more serious about painting. I was encouraged by a person I met who was an art therapist. And she told me, if you like, I bring you back to painting. And it was a big yes. I chose painting because I wanted to be independent, and for me it was more important to be independent and work whenever I liked, the way I liked. I've been always interested with spirituality, and that brought me closer to explore the inner life, the inner being in me. I remember when I was 15 being really touched by Socrates' words, know thyself. For me it meant a lot, and the art therapy helped a lot because I was intellectual about it at first, but there was a whole aspect of myself which I didn't know very well. I was confronted with painting with my emotions and my feelings, and that was hard at the beginning. But anyway, I jumped into it, and really it was a revelation because painting became much more interesting that way. Of course, it was a little bit scary at times. I've been exploring art, and in a way it's a search for the self, making the invisible visible. I like to experiment, so I like to use different kind of technique in painting, although I'm quite traditional generally. I like to use oil paints because it's such a rich material. The problem with oil paint compared with acrylics is that it dries very slowly. But I've learned to paint by stages. So it might take several months to do a painting, but I got used to it, and I quite like to have silence between 2 sessions of painting. Another thing which I really like about painting, and that's maybe what I like best, is colors. Just like to harmonize colors, and it's a bit like harmonizing in music, but instead of time, it's in space. It's right there. And of course, you need a support for that, which is a composition or the drawing, so that has to be right also. I like lots of things about painting, but I love colors. I love colors. So when I am creative, I feel more alive. I find that there are many ways of being creative. I can be creative cooking or in my garden or making something. I like to make things. And then meeting with that muse. The Greeks called it the daemon. And then it became a demon with a church and a rationalism, servant of the devil, but before it was something divine. There is some mystery in it. It doesn't quite come when I want it to come. It has its own life. It comes when it wants to come. And that can be frustrating because I think I should paint and I start a painting and I'm forcing it and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's a little bit like catching that inspiration and then doing it. So I've been very intrigued, especially lately, with that muse. And of course, maybe part of wanting to know more, it's so I could control more. But I also know that that doesn't work. There is definitely a surrendering to the muse. If I don't surrender, it doesn't work. It's that simple. And I cannot force it, I cannot provoke it. I have to listen and be present with what's going on, and I have to be inspired. Sometimes there is a dream which will provoke that, or a vision, or just going into my body helps. And I've painted things which look a little bit like dances and movement. Or sometimes it's just a strong desire to paint. I have had that. I just have to go to my studio and paint. I do a lot of work which is under pressure and painting every day, which is not very much, but I have to do it. And sometimes I get frustrated because I don't like what I'm doing. I'm forcing it. It's not pleasurable. But it's composed. And somehow there might be a little bit of use in it and coming back when I am more inspired. It's practice. It's just doing it, being there, every day. Discipline. Maybe discipline is good. It doesn't make me do good painting, but it's a practice. Practice is important. But it's not what I really like about painting. Although lately I've put myself on a schedule and I find that helps a little bit the muse to come more often. Yeah. That's what is wonderful with a little child, is that they have it and they don't think about it and it just comes naturally and they do beautiful things. I started drawing with colored pencil when I had a very sore back and I couldn't paint, and I gave myself an aim which was to draw like a 3-year-old child, and that was very important to me because I love that kind of art. I like children art. It was practicing again that surrendering to the paper and to the technique of the colored pencil. And it was very interesting exploration for me, which I think influenced my painting later on when I could paint again. And what is nice is that one keep on discovering even when they're quite old. I trust what I'm doing when I have that kind of inner guidance, which is maybe the muse or the divine. I just know. I can't explain it. I just know that it's real. And I trust that knowing which is strong inside me. And that's the beauty of art also, or the beauty of creativity, any kind of creativity. But I didn't practice as much as I could have because I've been interested in so many other things. I meditate, not very long, but I meditate a little bit every day. So that makes me quieter. I like quietness and silence. I'm used to live alone, and I like being alone because it gives me lots of space and time to just be myself. And maybe I need that quiet time to be creative. I must say I like gardening also, and gardening is a good antidote to painting, which is a very still thing, and in a studio inside, and going and putting my hands in dirt is a very good antidote. I find it goes very well with painting. The two go really well together. I like being healthy also, and eating properly is one aspect of it. So I like to eat my own food, which I grow. I make my bread also. My house is quite organic, so it invites that creativity. I think I would find it difficult to live in a very straight, perpendicular, vertical, smooth walls house. It has texture. And like I like nature, I like being in nature, and being in my house is a bit of an expansion of nature. I think my life is quite organic and flows. Special moments are when I'm doing really what I like at the moment I'm doing it, you know. I can't imagine painting not being important in my life. Art is very important in our life, and it's a way of being in the world without thinking too much, intellectualizing too much. Yeah, in a way it's becoming more human.